Hi everyone, welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert K. Sarkos is your usual suspect once again. I hope you're enjoying the weekend. Welcome back from the Saturday action. We are here to speak everything Chelsea and a few other things that did transpire in the course of the weekend so far, as far as a Premier League football is concerned. But before we get into that, let's mention that footnote that Barcelona were beaten by 4 goals to 2 by Osasuna. There, very brilliant game that Osasuna did have there. Zaragoza was very impressive for that Osasuna side, but Lamine Yamal still came on and scored a very brilliant strike. Go check that out. Anyways, like I said, we are going to speak matters Chelsea. Now, just last week, we were on this channel and I was telling you that Chelsea this season could be the Liverpool of last season. And what I meant by that was that there is a way Liverpool went about their business almost unnoticed. They were winning their games, putting points on the scoreboard, but because Arsenal and Man City were interchangeably in the lead at the pile of the table, literally nobody was paying them serious attention until they then moved on to the top of the table. And as we entered the final bend of the season, they were right in the title conversation. Of course, they did crumble away at the very end of it, in there being the result, some of the results that they put on board, losing to Arsenal by 3 goals to 1. Of course, there was that dry thing with Manchester City, for which they were denied a penalty. I think it was Jeremy Doku literally taking a karate kick at Alexis McAllister. But that was that. So I thought Chelsea was going to be the Liverpool of last season. However, while Liverpool managed to go about their business unnoticed because of Chelsea's recent struggles or stumbles, whichever you may want to call it, they will be noticed. And they are going about their business quite impressively. The manner in which they are winning games is quite convincing. Of course, there will be narrow victories like the one they had against Bournemouth, but take nothing away from the Blues. They did beat against Wolverhampton Wanderers by 6 goals to 2. And yesterday they put up quite a show as Cole Palmer scored 4 goals to be the first player in Premier League history to score 4 goals in the opening half of a Premier League match as they beat Brighton by 4 goals to 2. Now, for those of you that did watch our preview for match day 6 of the Premier League, our prediction had been that Chelsea would win this game to condemn Brighton to their first defeat of the season, because they did come in this particular fixture without defeat. They had won 2 games and drawn 3 in their opening 5 fixtures, while Chelsea, on the other hand, had drawn 1 against Crystal Palace and had also lost to Manchester City in the opening fixture, but then had gone on to win the other 3 games. So the picture was that while Brighton were going to put up some resistance, I thought Chelsea would win the game by 3 goals to 1. Well, it went beyond that, as Cole Palmer was very, very impressive. What can this kid do? Over the years, we've been treated to, brilliant English youngsters, some for whom have been praised in the media. When you rewind things back in 2006, for those of you that care to remember, when Arsenal were signing Theo Walcott from Southampton, and he did come to this Arsenal side, went on to score against Peter Cech, I think, in the Carabao Cup, then maybe Carling Cup at the time. Very, very impressive youngster. He was dubbed the England Messi. And then you had Jesse Lingard come up at Manchester United, dubbed the new Xavi. Now, of course, none of those have gone ahead to live to those expectations. And in recent times, we've had Phil Foden rise to the occasion. We've had Bukayo Saka being consistent at Arsenal and at the England national team. All these are youngsters whose names have dominated the English media as far as football is concerned. At present day, I do not think there's anybody on the top of that pile as Cole Palmer. Now, last season was more than impressive for him, and yet this season he seems to have even switched into another gear. In their Chelsea's victory against Wolverhampton Wanderers, that 6-2 victory, he provided a hat-trick of assists. This time round, he said no assisting. Let me be the one to score the goals. Never mind that one was a penalty. But I mean, the manner in which he takes those set plays is quite immaculate. So it is a game that offered us everything that you could expect in a kind of game that has 2 managers on either side that play that, expansive possession-based football. Both sides capitalized on each other's mistakes, and they punished them severely. Chelsea did concede in that game for trying to play out from the back, and Brighton stifled that, and they won themselves a goal. For those of you that remember that Baleba goal. And then on the other side, Cole Palmer scored, punishing Brighton on a similar mistake. So it was that kind of game that gave us everything there was to dream about. A brilliant penalty, a spectacular free kick by Cole Palmer. I mean, you cannot fault the goalkeeper. You cannot fault that Brighton wall for not, blocking that ball. The ball was just inch perfect to the top corner. Very, very sweet a strike as you will ever see from a free kick. Now, in recent times, goals from direct free kicks have not been quite often in the Premier League. But Cole Palmer, gave us that reminder that it is possible to actually score a stunning free kick. Times gone by once in a while would be treated to a spectacular by James Ward-Prowse, but this time around it is Cole Palmer. Very impressive. You do really run out of superlatives to tag to the youngster, which then begs the question: did Man City or will Manchester City regret selling Cole Palmer? A part of me believes yes. Maybe last season they didn't feel that, regardless of his impact at Chelsea, because he literally carried that team on his shoulders. Because Manchester City went on to win the Premier League, I mean, it was a by the way conversation. It was a footnote conversation for us to even have that. Man City made a mistake to sell Cole Palmer for 45 million quid. And yet this season, it is increasingly likely that they will look back on that and say, I think we made a mistake. Perhaps we sold him for way too little. Had he had the performance he had last season at Manchester City, come, this previous transfer window, they could have been calling for 100 million pounds or even 150. Of course, Manchester United and wannabes have started, clamoring that Cole Palmer would be the perfect replacement for Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United. Whether Cole Palmer would be willing to join Manchester United is another whole different story. But if you went to Chelsea today for a player that has just renewed his contract to, first of all, increase his salary and increase on the number of years to his contract, I mean, they're going to demand a fee in no less than 150 million pounds or even 200 million euros. And you could arguably understand, homegrown player, very skillful, can play across the front three. I mean, he just keeps popping in the right places. He scores goals, provides the assists. He has that body character or body style of a Mesut Ozil, sort of a Juan Mata, a kind of player that sort of looks lazy in a way, and yet he shows up in some physical duels and wins some of those. I mean, he's good at his pressing. He just gets things right overall. He's just perfect. And it looks like Enzo Maresca has started to figure out the perfect way to assemble his Chelsea team and give everybody time. Of course, there are people who are having question marks. Noni Madueke for the kind of misses he had in that particular game, especially in the first half. He shouldn't sit too comfortable thinking he's a favorite, because sooner or later he could be replaced if he goes ahead to miss those kinds of chances. Jordan Sancho, I mean, he may have not scored, but he was equally brilliant. He was equally impressive. So clearly, the scoreline 4-2 does not paint the whole picture of the game, because while Robert Sanchez in the Chelsea goal was culpable for the 2 goals they conceded, he redeemed himself with some immaculate saves in that very game. Not to mention Nicholas Jackson. I don't know how to say it. Did he miss or he was unlucky? Because he beats the Brighton goalkeeper and is clearly slotting the ball in the back of the net, only for Lewis Dunk, I think, to swoop in the last second at the 11th hour to clear that ball literally off the line. So Chelsea had that impressive game. Cole Palmer himself missed literally a sitter in the second half. I mean, he had, after scoring a difficult free kick, his 4th goal at the near post was not as easy as one would think. He went on to miss a sitter in the second half. So, but because you cannot fault him for the performance he had already given, really, this game could have easily ended, maybe 8-6 or 6-5. as if a penalty shootout on another given day, had it not been for the goalkeepers in some instances. Very, very impressive. So if Chelsea do continue on this trajectory, we could be having a different conversation by the time we reach Christmas. If they stay on this course, by the time we get to Christmas, they will be well within the title conversation. I mean, we didn't have them in the larger conversation for the top four, although I thought they would, compete for it. They're already up there. Never mind that if Aston Villa does win on Sunday in their game against Ipswich Town, they will, pull them down. They're in the top four, just behind Arsenal, because Arsenal are behind Man City and Liverpool, leading the pile. Now, speaking about Liverpool, I mean, how could we not speak about Liverpool? Because yesterday they grinded out a 2-1 victory at the Modern Stadium as they beat up against Wolves by 2-1. Wolves still searching for their first victory of the season, leaving them bottom of the Premier League table. Now, I did not think Wolves were bottom of the table material, and yet things are failing to click for Gary O'Neill's side. Liverpool opened the scoring through Ibrahim Konate with a brilliant header, and then it was the hero who turned villain for his complacency and conceding a chance that literally never was, as he tried to hold off the ball, to go out for a goal kick that he was beaten to that. And then Ryan Atnori popped up in the box to convert that one to restore parity. Of course, a few contentious decisions in that particular game, but Liverpool did win themselves a penalty kick, and Mohamed Salah stepped up and converted that one. Mohamed Salah did miss a very big chance in that particular game when Liverpool beat Wolves to the press, as Wolves tried to build right from the goal lines. And then, I mean, it was one of those mistakes that could have easily been punished by Liverpool. But 2-1 it finished. The scoreline will not matter much because all they wanted were the 3 points away from home, and they are looking impressive really away from home because they've only lost one game this season, and that was the 1-0 loss to Nottingham Forest at Anfield, and they've since recovered from that, beating up against AC Milan by 3-1, beating up against AFC Bournemouth by 3-0, went on to beat West Ham in midweek in the EFL Cup by 5-1, and now they have beaten Wolverhampton Wanderers by 2-1. It appears as if Arne Slot has been there for ages, and from where I'm standing, what he did was simple. Replacing Jurgen Klopp for him was literally sort of putting a cone on top of another cone. He just fit in there like a glove. He didn't change much in terms of how they tactically apply themselves, just tweaked a few things here and there, because they are conceding less goals so far this season, and they're just impressive. No wonder they are on the summit of the Premier League table, like we've already mentioned. So we won't go into the formalities of the Premier League table, but they are teams that are really struggling, that are yet to find their first victory of the season. Because Everton, while they were beating Crystal Palace by 2-1, they leapfrogged themselves from literally the second bottom of the table to go to 15th place with now 14 points. Meanwhile, Leicester City, Crystal Palace, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Southampton, as well as Ipswich Town are yet to record a victory for themselves this season. Now, this is after 5-6 games respectively for some of these teams. I mean, of course, we've seen teams go longer than that before they record their first victories, but it's not really looking pretty for Wolverhampton Wanderers, nor is it looking pretty for Oliver Glasner down there at Selhurst Park. So, but anyways, might I mention that it was Dwight McNeil's, brace that inspired Everton to that 2-1 victory over Crystal Palace. Anyways, allow me keep it here, and I'll see you next time. Stay blessed. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Do not forget to comment, like, and share this video so that we can continue to grow. You can also follow us on TikTok at Football Tribe UG. Stay blessed.